today's presentation. All right, so welcome, and good morning, everyone. We are very excited to be here with you this morning. Awesome. Looks like there are some important things coming into the chat as well as we are getting started. So thank you for any attendance forms or sign-in sheets that need to be completed. I see those coming into the chat, so thank you. Also, the other link that you will see in the chat will be a link to today's agenda and resources. So I'll just speak for just a moment about the agenda and what we hope to cover today. And then we will get in and connected to an example lesson and get started. All right, so today's session, we are going to cover enriching instruction with Lumio. Our goal this morning is to take a look at how we can utilize Lumio to create and share some interactive lessons with students. So like I said, I'm going to actually have you in just a moment connect to my example lesson. And then that way you can interact with a couple of activities that you'll be able to build something similar for your students and share with your students. So this will be our introduction today. So after we experience a couple of example activities, then we're going to dive into how to sign into Lumio as a teacher, how to use Lumio with your Google Drive. So you'll be able to use what you have and incorporate that into your Lumio lessons, as well as find some ready-made lessons or activities or things like graphic organizers that you can utilize at any time with your students. We'll finish out at kind of the last chunk of our session today. We will talk about and review how to connect your students to your lesson. So that is something that we will spend a few minutes on there at the end of our session. All right, so again, we have a couple of important things I see popping into the chat, such as sign-in information and our agenda document that's popping into the chat. So as we're getting settled with some of those items, I will give you our next little bit of housekeeping here. So popping right here on the screen, you'll notice on the agenda document, it does ask you to go to hellosmart.com. And then we do have my class ID is 12770. You can join as a guest for today's purposes. So we'll give it just a couple minutes. I know we have a couple of important links are coming into the chat and some important information is coming in the chat. So we'll just give it just a moment. And then we'll really get underway with some introductions and whatnot for our session. So please let me know if you have any questions or, let's use that chat feature if you have a question about some of those, like I said, some of the important links like sign-in forms and the agenda document, as well as that connection piece to my presentation today. We are heading on over to, so in a tab in your browser as you're getting settled, head on over to hellosmart.com. You can join as a guest for today's purposes because we will sign in as teachers then. And my class ID is 12770. I'll pause here. I see quite a few people joining my class, which is just wonderful. But let's go ahead and use that chat feature if you need any assistance getting connected or if you need any of the links repeated. Just feel free to pop a message in the chat for us. All right, I see about 22 people connected, so we'll just give it another moment. Just as a reminder, as you're getting settled into our session this morning, you are welcome to connect from the student perspective to my Lumio lesson. And my class ID is 12770. Once we get all connected here.
What do we put in for the interactive panel do we have? What do we put when we sign in on our?
So we're not signing into the panel today, actually. We're focusing just on the
I wouldn't,
software.
Heather, I'm
No,
wondering if
this is
that's
on the T for Learning sign in.
There's a question on this on our sign-in sheet about the type of panel you have in your classroom.
Right.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you could let us know what type of, if it's a smart, if you don't know, you can say you're not sure. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go to hellosmart.com.
Yeah. Go to Hello Smart.
great. Let's see here. And Heather, do you mind popping in the link to the agenda document just one more time? That should be available for everyone to see and have access to. So maybe just try that link one more time to see the agenda document. All right. So there we go. Okay, fantastic. So the agenda document again is in the chat. And so go ahead and try that link again. Let us know if, or maybe let Heather know if you're still having trouble accessing the document. We do, like we said, we have some links to the sign-in sheet that is in the chat as well. And I'll just repeat the connection instructions just one more time to get connected to my lesson. I will then continue on and do a few introductions, but I will put that class ID back up in just a moment, as well as it is in the chat. So just one more quick reminder here as we are getting settled with all of our housekeeping items. Hellosmart.com is the website to connect to my lesson right now. You can join as a guest, and my class ID is 12770. So we may have met previously in another session, or if we have not met yet, my name is Sarah Stewart, Smart Professional Development Specialist. And my background was as an educator, so I was a classroom teacher for quite a few years. My email is on this page, but I'll let you know it's also in the agenda document that I shared with you. So feel free to connect with me if you have any questions, or you also have your wonderful T3 team to help you as well with any questions you may have. We have a few other helpful people on the call with us today. So if anyone would like to, maybe Heather and Kim, Michelle, if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Sure. Thanks, Sarah. Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Schrader. I'm the Senior Education Sales Consultant for SMART in the Northeast region. Very, very happy to be working with you and supporting all of you today. I actually lived in PG County for quite a long time, so I'm very familiar with your area, and honestly, I miss it dearly. So, so glad to be with you virtually, and I'll turn it over to others to say hi.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kim Robertson, instructional specialist with the technology training team, also known as T3. We're so excited that you were able to join us today. I'm sure it's nice being given the option to work from home. So hopefully this will be a relaxed environment for you to learn more about Lumio. Thanks again for joining.
Okay.
Forgot the Miss Michelle Monconti forgot to unmute herself.
I surely did.
Oh.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Conti, and I'm also an instructional specialist with the technology training team. Looking forward to supporting you all.
All right, wonderful. So we have, like I said, we have awesome support and help in the chat today. So please feel free to reach out to some of our moderators today in the chat for assistance. I may tuck this chat panel away here while we kind of get things rolling. So you're welcome to reach out to them as we get started. All right, so I would love for all of you to give us an opportunity to get to know you a little bit and to share what you are curious about learning today. So I have a shout it out activity started. What you're going to notice when you have that Hello Smart window, that student window open up, you are going to see a white box. And you are welcome to type in some text, share with everyone. What are you curious about learning today? You know, and if you're thinking maybe specifically about the grade level you teach or content area, you are welcome to include that. in what you are sharing with us today. So feel free, head on into that shout it out activity and let us know, what are you curious or what are you most interested in learning today? So awesome. I'm seeing some responses pop in. You may notice that they're looking a little small on my screen. So I am going to make these larger here in just a moment. Shout it out's an activity you can easily build and use in Lumio and connect your students to this activity. What you're going to be able to do is give them an opportunity to brainstorm or answer questions, ask questions, review, reflect. So all kinds of things here that you can do. All right, so let's kind of look at some of your awesome responses here. All right, so interacting with the smartboard along with you, right? So today you're going to be able to see how, if you create a lesson and share that with students using Lumio, you will be able to interact on your board. We're meeting virtually today right now, and I'm sharing my screen, but I easily could have this activity up on my smartboard or another interactive panel. And I am going to be able to have my students interact along with me. All right. Thanks, Michelle. All right. Interactive activities on the panel and the Chromebook. Yes. This point right here, we're going to be looking at making that connection between what I might use on an interactive display and a Chromebook. Maybe some built-in resources. Yes, we'll show you some resources today. Ooh, some tricks and techniques. Nice. All right, so there is a question here coming on in about the smartboard. I would encourage you to pop maybe a specific question about the smartboard in the chat, or you can reach out to your T3 team about a specific smartboard question for today. All right, so getting excited and learning all of these things. Awesome. Here, math skills for primary. All right, interaction for middle school students. Connecting to learning. Maybe you're not quite sure. That's totally fine. It's a Friday morning. We're getting all warmed up here. All right, fantastic. So specifically 5th grade level reading, curious about universal access for all your students. Oh, I am so glad that you brought this point up, and we'll be sure to point out some ways to help all of your learners today. All right, help our pre-K learners, some new ways to use the smartboard. Oh, awesome. Thank you all so much for these responses. Maybe you're not sure. No big deal there. All right, some resources. All right, are students able to share their thoughts with the whole class? Yes, so that's exactly what we are doing right now. We've answered questions, shared our thoughts, and we're going to do this in a couple different ways today. All right, so more interactive activities for ESOL students. When I'm displaying on the computer screen of the smartboard, how do you write onto that screen? So right now I'm using Lumio in this shout it out activity. And so what I'm going to be doing is having students respond. We'll do a couple different activities today, so you'll see a few different ways to write and add to the screen. All right, awesome. All right, so these are fantastic thoughts here. I'll come back to this later. I know, like I said, if there's any specific questions on here, maybe smartboard questions, if you are interested in having those questions answered, you may want to repeat that question in the chat, or like I said, feel free to reach out to your T3 team if you have some specific smartboard questions that you really would like some follow-up on, if that sounds good to everyone. All right, so let's keep moving along here. Our goals for today, we want to utilize Lumio to create and share interactive learning with students. We are going to experience a few activities, and then we are going to go in and save some activities to our Lumio library. And thinking about how could we use, a little too quickly there, how can we use what we're creating with our students? All right, so let's just take a moment here and take a step back. So like I said, this first session this morning, we are talking about Lumio. Now, what is Lumio? It is interactive software and it's cloud-based. So your students simply need to have a device that connects to a browser. So your students can use their Chromebooks, head on into hellosmart.com and connect. Or you can share these lessons out directly with students through Canvas. You're also going to be able to import your content. Now, I'll show you where that import button is today. It might not be something that we're going to dive super deep into today in our first session, but just know that you can bring in your own content like PDFs or Google Slides or Smart Notebook files into Lumio. We have lots of ready-made resources, so that is something else we'll look at today. We're going to be thinking about engaging students with things like games or interactive slides and collaboration. And then, like I said, we're going to be able to connect our students to our lesson. All right, so some quick activities we'll do here. This is a game-based activity. So from your screen, your student screen there, we're going to be able to, every person, if you're connected to my class, you're going to be able to rank some of these important skills that we might want to foster in students. So if you're thinking right now from your perspective, which one of these skills might be most important in your opinion to foster in students? So if I'm completing this activity, maybe I'm thinking critical thinking is important, and maybe I'll put knowledge maybe somewhere in the middle. So feel free, hop on into the activity, get started, and add your ranking. I'll give everyone just a moment to work on this activity. There are no right or wrong answers in this task, so feel free to start working on it. I'll just take a moment here, kind of as you're working on this, and talk a bit about how can we support all of our learners. So there's a couple different things that I'm seeing in this activity that would support maybe my ESOL students or students with a variety of learning needs. So I have added instructional audio in the upper right corner. So I've recorded the directions for students to listen to those directions. You can add audio to any page. I've used text in this activity, but I also could have used images. So in this ranking game, I can have students use text or images. So again, thinking about how I can support all of my learners. As you're working, I'm going to head over to my view progress button, and I can start seeing class results. And so once you complete the activity, you are welcome to hop on over to my shared screen in Zoom if you would like to see what could I see as a teacher. And then if I am projecting this activity on my smartboard, it is kind of giving me that second look here where I'm going to be able to show the results, not automatically going to show. So if you are showing this on a public display, but I do want to go ahead and show the results. And I am going to be able to see it's taking my students about a minute. And what is our average ranking? So I see critical thinking is pretty high on our list, as well as communication and curiosity. What are some of the things? Just average ranking here. I see leadership, empathy. There we go. So yep, collaboration. Maybe those are towards the bottom there of the list. Now, these are probably all very important skills you want to foster in your students, but we're thinking about, how they compare to those other skills. I do have the ability to come into student progress. So I'm just going to click right here, and just to let you know, I can see have my students completed the activity. I'm going to open up Heather's here real quick and show hers, but I can see what is the ranking that Heather decided. And so maybe I'm going to have her chat and discuss, and we can foster some discussion in the classroom about which skills are important and why. So maybe I'm having students rank influential characters in a novel or in events in a story, or maybe I'm thinking of a social studies example of influential historical figures. So I can use this activity in quite a few different ways. I could also have the activity have correct and incorrect answers, where maybe students are ranking equations in order, or maybe I want them putting words in ABC order. So there's a few different ways, or maybe steps in a process. Maybe we're learning a new process and I want them to put those into a ranking. So, all right, I'll pause here. Heather, any questions coming into the chat so far? Otherwise, we'll kind of keep the ball rolling.
I think we're okay for now. Thank you very much.
All right, wonderful. So I'm going to take us down now into the next example. So on this page, we're going to be using a whole class whiteboard. So the whole class whiteboard, I'm actually going to pause this for just a second. So no one's going to be able to edit the board right now because I'm going to give some directions to the group. I have a quick little toggle there so I can turn on and off editing access. What students are going to be able to do is use some tools to explain their thinking on this page. So what I'm going to ask you to do is you can use the text. There's going to be a text tool. It's a capital A text tool. You're not going to see it right this moment because I've toggled off that editing access. But what you're going to get is a text tool. You'll have a picture tool. You will have a shape tool. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on that editing access here. And I'll kind of explain this again a little bit, but feel free, hop into the whole class whiteboard. You're going to be able to add, you can add inking to the page. You can find an image to support your reasoning. Like I said, you can grab that capital A text tool and type why you feel like this skill was important, defending your reasoning in the graphic organizer. I see you've also we found the check mark. So maybe you're going to grab that check mark and vote for which one was the most important. So we get this visual about which skills are important for students to foster. Awesome. I see some images coming in. So again, thinking about supporting all of my learners, some of my students will benefit from adding text to a page. Some students are going to benefit from creating a visual. So you have multiple different ways to respond and to collaborate together here on this page. Awesome. Now, one more thing I'm going to point out again, because I know that we want to make sure that we are meeting all of our learners' needs. You can see on the left side of your screen, you have a little book with a speaker. If you tap on that icon, it will enable Immersive Reader. Immersive Reader is built in to Lumio. So any text that you're adding in Lumio, or as you can see, as our collaborators are all adding something to the board, you're going to see that Immersive Reader is available. It's a setting that you'll toggle on, and we'll show you how to do that then. But when I tap on that Immersive Reader icon, I'm showing this on my shared screen in Zoom, and you're welcome to check out yours on your own. But I can listen to the text be read aloud to me. I can also use the picture dictionary. So if I click on words, there's a picture dictionary. And then also there are translations embedded in Immersive Reader as well. So if I do have multilingual students, they will have access to those translations. So I definitely want to point that out for everyone. And that is a tool that is available here in Lumio. So amazing. I'm seeing some awesome ideas come in. Things about, critical thinking, collaboration. Oh, right. We can't communicate without empathy. Now, one more thing I'll mention here. You can see who added what to the page. So if I want to see, okay, who's giving us some information here about collaboration. All right, thanks, Michelle, for adding your thoughts to the page. I can see that Michelle is letting us know her reasoning behind collaboration. You can see who's moving and adding those check marks and who's voting for which one of these skills. And so right here on this page, I have that attribution piece where I'm going to be able to keep my students accountable and see who is adding some thoughts to the page. All right, a lot of different things happening here on this activity. So I will pause here again. Any questions about this whiteboard task, this whole class whiteboard, before we continue on?
I think we're good. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks everyone. I love all this conversation that is being contributed here. So this is fantastic. If you are thinking about using an activity like this, I'll show you where you can actually save this template to your Lumio library today. Before you even leave our session, you can save this to your library and use something like this with your students. You're going to be able to project this on your smartboard and have or another interactive display and have students come up to the board and add their thoughts or move and manipulate objects. Or like you're seeing now, we're also collaborating through the use of our devices so your students can use their Chromebooks. All right, so I'm going to continue on here. Let's use the chat for some conversation and discussion. And so feel free. Oh, real quick before we start adding some things in the chat. Yep, on the left side, you'll see that immersive reader icon. It's a little book with a speaker. And right under that capital, or I have a little capital A, but you'll just have the little book there. All right, so let's go ahead and we want to flood the chat here for just a second. But how are you thinking you might use a rank order activity, so that ranking game? Or how might you use a whole class whiteboard with students? So can't wait. We'll pause here. Let's start adding some ideas to the chat.
We already got one great one in the chat, rank order for shades of meaning, which is perfect. I love that. All right, so I see maybe some entry or exit tickets. Yes. Oh, learning about homophones right now. Oh, a riddle and then have students share. Oh, some fun ideas. Maybe some story sequencing. Great. Making predictions. Yes. Those formative assessments, how are students progressing through topics? Great. And maybe some community building activities. Conflicts for characters. Interesting. Love that. All right. Well, thanks for some of those great ideas. Feel free to keep adding ideas into that chat and sharing and thinking about some new thoughts here. Oh, let's see. We got some more things coming in. Oh, interesting. Thinking about that rank order activity, does it make sense, right? Maybe you put some items in order, you have students make that ranking and then ask them to think about, does it make sense? Oh, I love that. We're really leveling up that activity. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for all these great ideas. So here's what we're going to do next. Let's get in and we are going to start building as teachers. So what I'm going to ask that you do, in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to notice you have 3 little lines on that Lumio window that you have open. If you click on those 3 little lines, go ahead and then click Leave Class. You can close that tab out altogether. I'm going to pause here. I see the number of students is going down here. So my check for understanding, I see we are leaving my class. And then in a moment, I'll give you directions on how to sign in as a teacher. So feel free to just go ahead and leave that student perspective, click on the 3 little lines, and then click Leave Class. The other thing I'll tell you is that if you are looking at my screen in Zoom, I have this little Manage People icon with the number. You can see that's the number that's starting to go down. What I'm going to do is go ahead and I could even remove everyone from my class. All right, so now I would be ready, if I have another group coming in. All right, so what we're going to do next to join or to sign into Lumio as a teacher, what I'm going to ask that you do is go ahead and open up your Google Drive. So that is our next step. We are going to open up a tab in our browser and go to our Google Drive. We're starting in Google Drive. This is actually where you're going to find Lumio, and we'll kind of explain this a little bit more here in just a moment, but I'll just take a moment and just ask that you kind of click along with me so that you can sign in as a teacher. So please go ahead and open up your Google Drive.
All right. So now once you're in Google Drive, you'll find Lumio in one of two places, or you'll find it in two places. So I'll just kind of explain this here for just a moment. Now that I'm in my Google Drive, I can click on the waffle, your app switcher up in the corner. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you should see a little lightning bug, firefly, that says Lumio. So you'll find the Lumio app if you scroll down. When you open up your little waffle, your Google Drive waffle or your app switcher there, those 9 dots, and then scroll down until you find Lumio. If you click on the waffle and you go down to Lumio, when you create a lesson today or you save a lesson today, your lesson will actually save in a folder called Lumio in your Google Drive. So the lessons that we create today are going to save in your Google Drive because they are connected to Drive. The other thing you might do if you like to organize your lessons in folders, you can open up a folder in your Google Drive. So I've opened up my example lessons folder and I'm going to click New, More, and I'll find Lumio here. So I'll do that one more time. You can click New, More, and find Lumio. If I go this way, the lesson I create today is going to save in this folder in my Google Drive. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll go back up to my waffle here, scroll down, click on Lumio. Now, if this is the first time you've ever signed into Lumio, go ahead and click on Google and enter in your school district email and password. So that's what we're asking you to do right now. We're asking you to click on Google and sign in using your school district email and password. Once you get into Lumio, if this is the first time that you're signing in, you are going to just confirm a few things that you're an adult, you'll put in your teacher name, and then you'll come on into your Lumio homepage. If you have successfully signed into Lumio, and we will pause here for another moment or two to give you some time to get all signed in, but once you're signed in, if you wouldn't mind, either giving me a thumbs up here in Zoom or heading into the chat and saying ready or signed in, and then I know that we are ready to continue on to the next step.
And Sarah, if I may chime in and just add that if you are being prompted by the system to enter your name or your display name, as I think it's called in the system, please note that that is your teacher name. It is a name that your students will see when they come to your class, when they go to Hello Smart to come to your class. So unless you want your students to call you by your first name, or you want them to call you Batman or Catwoman, just keep that in mind. You might just choose the name that you want your students to see when they come to hellosmart.com.
Well, I have a question. I found the Lumio icon. I got my account open, the PG. But then when I click that in the teacher option, it takes me to this screen and it's asking me welcome. It's telling me welcome. And then there's two options, signing with Google or signing with Microsoft. I don't know if I went the wrong place or why am I getting that?
Yep, go ahead and just click on Google.
Oh, okay, signing with, okay, all right.
Yep, and then use your PG County email and then let us know in the chat if you're still having any problems connecting.
Oh, thank you. Okay, okay. I see.
Awesome. All right. Anyone else have any questions? Or like I said, let us know ready if you're signed in and ready to go in the chat.
Excuse me. Oh, I need to mute myself.
All right, wonderful. Looks like we have a few more people that have been able to sign in. So I'm going to just very briefly here, just give us a couple of good to know items when it comes to your Lumio homepage. So you'll notice, like Heather was saying, your teacher name will show up here. Okay. So if that's something that you would like to change, I'll show you that in just a moment. You'll also see that you have a class ID. Your class ID is it will always be the same for your students. So that's an easy connection for them. If you click on the little button that says edit class, you are going to be able to rename your class under there. So if you did put in your first name and you want that to change that, feel free to click on edit class and rename your class. The other thing that's really important in the edit class button, it says manage guest access. I highly recommend having your students sign in using Google and their school account, because that way their work will save for them from day to day. Okay. So you can go in here and toggle off that guest access if you'd like students to sign in using Google and their school account. I'm going to click on edit class one more time, and we're going to find manage immersive reader. So if you would like that immersive reader option available for your students, just go ahead and click on edit class and then toggle on and enable that immersive reader so it's available. And it's something that's quickly to toggle off. So if you had a specific maybe literacy lesson coming up where you would prefer immersive reader to be turned off, you can come in and turn that off for your class.
Time out a second. I kind of missed something.
Sure.
I got the managed guest access. Enable guest access to the class, toggle that on or off, because it's showing green and to the right.
Sure. And so if you want the guest access turned off, then you just click it and then it won't be green anymore.
Okay, but I kind of missed the rationale for the managed guest class access.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. So when students join as a guest, each time they're going to access that lesson, and their work won't save for them to come back to and keep working on it. So if they sign in using their school account, they can come back and keep working on that same lesson multiple times. So it's a nice, easy way for students to be able to work over maybe multiple days.
Okay, so keep it green then.
I would actually, and what grade level do you teach?
5th.
So I would go ahead and toggle that off so that students do need to sign in.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, it's me again. Sorry, I think I made a mistake because, on top of my screen, there's a blue bar that says Sarah Stork 12700, and on the upper right corner is my name pops up there, but I don't have the option. I don't see the option to edit, like you said, and so it's only giving me the options to help or sign out. However, it says greeted Mr. Pizarro, so I don't know. I guess I did something.
Do you see a door in the upper left-hand corner?
Where? Sorry.
On your screen, do you see a little door in the upper left-hand corner?
Oh yeah.
Okay, please click the door.
All right.
And then you're going to see kind of at the bottom, and it's kind of small, but at the bottom in blue print, it's going to say, "Are you a teacher?"
Oh no, it's telling me, like I said, I probably did something wrong, because the box that you're talking about says Sarah Stork and gives me the code. And do you want to leave this class, cancel or leave class?
Yes. So please leave the class. You're just in the student perspective. It's not a big, a big deal. So just leave my class. And then at the bottom, can you find where it says, "Are you a teacher?"
Oh yeah, I see. Okay, yeah. So click that link, I guess. Now you're signing.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I knew I missed something.
Yep, you got it. You not a big deal. I think you signed into your account earlier as a student, so no big deal. Now you'll get to the teacher side.
Got you. Now I see the blue bar with my username and everything. So I need to click that. and then it will open. I mean, so it's opening, or the wheel is spinning. Okay. Okay.
All right, I'm going to talk about a few other things, and then let us know in the chat if you still need some help.
Okay. Thank you so much. I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Yep.
you.
Oh, I see a question that just popped in. So you can reset your class ID, but you don't necessarily need to do that really at any point. Some teachers like to reset it so they get maybe a number that they like, or maybe an even number versus an odd number, something like that. But you do not need to necessarily reset your class ID. So good question. All right, so the next thing I actually want to do, I'm going to talk about a couple more buttons here and then give us a few minutes to explore. Okay, so what you're going to see is on the left side, we see two buttons. So I want to talk a little bit about this import button. If you see where that import button is, you can bring in files that you have saved on your computer. So if you have PowerPoints, PDFs, or smart notebook files. So if you have an older smart board, a newer smart board, you have a different interactive flat panel, you can bring in these files that you have, like PowerPoints or PDFs, or maybe some smart notebook files you've had for a while, bring those into Lumio to create these interactive lessons with your students. You're also connected to your Google Drive. So if you have Google Slides, you can bring those into Lumio and then create those interactive pages like the collaborative whiteboard we did. We're going to go and we're going to find some things in the Lumio library. So if you save something to your library today, you can bring that into a new lesson. So that's the My Library button. So let's go ahead and see up at the top, find where it says Lumio Library. So you'll have a little tab that says My Library, and then you're going to see that it says Lumio Library. So if you click over on the Lumio Library, this is where all those ready-made resources are. So you can click through here. We have some featured content right up at the top. So if you're looking for something a little more seasonal, or maybe a holiday that's coming up, maybe you're looking for some SEL activities here in this emotional literacy, maybe a lesson about conflict or getting to know you. So you have some lessons here. I'll scroll down just a little bit. Maybe you're looking for a manipulative. Right here where it says this tic-tac-toe choice board, this is actually the page that I used with us when we did the whole class board, and I edited a little bit. So I might just click save to my library so I can use this tic-tac-toe choice board manipulative in another lesson. So once you kind of scroll through here, you'll see STEAM lessons, fractions, reading, writing, and if these still aren't quite fitting a topic that you're looking for, go ahead and up to the search and start searching for something. So as you're searching, I do see a couple questions coming in. So I'll answer those questions right now if you're kind of listening in on what we're saying, but otherwise feel free to take a moment and find a lesson that you can save to your Lumio library. So we just take a look at some of these questions here. Let's see. So if you have an older board, what you're going to be able to do is, if you are able to project in your classroom, you can, if you have an older board, you can connect your computer and you can project this lesson in your classroom. Now, you don't necessarily need to use a board with many of the Lumio activities, so you could even just connect, pull your lesson up on your laptop and have your students connect. But if you have an older projector in your classroom, you can still show or display this lesson. All right, so I'm going to hop back here to the My Library tab. So just as a reminder, you have your two tabs here on the top. We were in the My Library tab. and then we went to the Lumio library tab, and that's how we're finding some ready-made pages. Like I said, I saved that tic-tac-toe page so that I can use that in a new lesson. And I'm going to come back to the My Library tab. I do want to kind of reiterate something I already said, but I'm going to kind of loop back to this for just a second. So this import button here in the top left, again, I went back to the My Library tab at the top. The import button, just as a reminder, the file types that you're going to be able to import. You can import a PDF, PowerPoint file, or a notebook file. You can bring in your Google files like Google Slides, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Draw. And you can also reuse a resource from your library. So I saved this tic-tac-toe board here. So I'm going to click on import, and I'm going to import from my library because I just saved this page. So I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to click select. I just need one page here, and then I'm going to go ahead and click add. And this is going to start to set up my new lesson. All right. Once I'm here, I can do some editing. Maybe I'm going to give students, I could unlock these directions here, and maybe I'm going to give them some different directions. Which skills are important? And I'll continue on kind of there. If I don't need some of these other elements here, maybe I'm going to click on this little symbol and disable this, and I'm going to go ahead and delete some things from the page. So you can kind of click around and unlock, if you save something and you want to make some edits, you can unlock and move some things around. Right here, I have this little infinity symbol. This is using infinite cloner. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, and I'm going to move this shape up a little bit. When I click on an object or text, I can click on this little circle, and there's that infinite cloner option. I can also duplicate or copy paste, lock some things to the screen. If I want students to interact with this page, I might lock some things down for them not to move around. But then I can go ahead and drag and drop. Now that I set infinite cloner, so again, it was in that little circle right here, that little menu, and I found that infinite cloner option, and that's how we had that little check mark, and we were able to like and favorite people's ideas, or we were able to add our thoughts there to the page with that little infinite cloner. You also have a few other tools just to let you know. You can add text, you can add equations, you can add shapes and images to the page. Earlier, we mentioned that you can add the instructional audio. So that's where you would click on that little person with the speaker. And you can record up to 5 minutes of audio on any page. And the other thing I can do when I'm editing this page is I get this magic wand, and this magic wand is going to let me turn it into an individual handout, that a small group workspace, or a whole class whiteboard. Today, with the time that we had, we just did one whole class whiteboard. So maybe today I would choose that, but you do have the option to go ahead and select either individual or small group space. Okay, great. Let me show you this real quick. When you click on an object on your page, so whether it's text or an image or a shape, once you click on it, you get this blue circle with a little white caret, and then changes colors when I hover over it. But once I click on the menu, then I get the infinite cloner option about halfway through this editing menu on my objects. So let me know if we still have some questions about that. All right, so if I click on my magic wand, then there's my whole class whiteboard. All right, I'll show you a couple more things here. Bottom left-hand corner, we have this plus sign in the box. Once I click there, Whoa, these are all the different things that you can add to your lesson. So you can keep importing your resources, add things like an ad-free YouTube video, Desmos graphing calculator, PhET simulation. Shout it out was that first icebreaker activity that we did. And then at the bottom, you're going to notice some more ready-made graphic organizers and exit tickets and things, more than we'll have time to dive into today. But certainly I would encourage you to explore and see what else you can add to your lesson. The other item that we included today in our example was a game-based activity. So if I click on game-based activities, I'll see all the different options here. I do have 12 different games. And today I did use rank order. That was that ranking game that we looked at. So again, let me just kind of hop back here in case I'm kind of clicking too quickly here. I'm going to go through these steps just one more time. I'm going to click on the plus sign in the bottom left-hand corner. I'm going to click on game-based activities. And I'm going to find rank order. Again, many different games. So I would encourage you, if you're interested in building some games, you do get the little hat there that you can see just a quick preview of what that game looks like. But if I click on rank order, then I'll put in the content for my students. So maybe we're doing just a quick counting example here, just to quickly add some ranking. But this is how my students, this is how the answers will be checked. It gives me the option of instantly, when prompted, or don't check the answers. And then I can put in ranking labels here. So first to last. Our example today, we went with don't check the answers because we wanted this to be an opinion-based activity. But once you have added something to your game, if you add text, you can also add images to your game. So again, going back to supporting all of our students, you can do a quick search and add an image to your game. And then I'm going to go ahead and click next. And I get different background options, or you can customize. Maybe I'll go with basketball for this one. And then I'm going to click finish. And now I have my 2 pages. So every time you click on that plus sign, it will keep adding pages to your Lumio lesson here. And you can keep building from there. All right. So the other thing I want to do is make sure that I title my lesson here. So example lesson. Or maybe it's a topic that I'll put in there. And I'm going to go ahead and click finish editing. Once I've done that, you'll notice that I have my lesson saved here in my Lumio library, but I will also have it saved in my Google Drive as well. And so just a reminder, if you went through your waffle, you'll find it in your Lumio folder, or you will find it in the folder where you saved your lesson. If I click on start on this lesson, and then I come up to the upper left-hand corner, this is where I have that manage people icon. And I'm going to pop out the directions. So how do my students connect to my lesson? What my students are going to do is, again, they go to hellosmart.com. They can sign in, join as a guest, and then use my class ID. 12770 is my ID. You will have your own. So your students, to connect to your lesson, will go to hellosmart.com and use your class ID. All right, I'm going to head back to my Lumio library here for a moment. The other thing I might do is share my lesson with my students. So if I click on the 3 little dots, I'm going to click share link. I can share this lesson with another teacher. Grab this link, they get their own copy. Or I grab a student share link. This is what I copy and I paste in Canvas for students to access outside of class. So I don't have to run this lesson. I don't have to open it. I could simply just share direct access to the lesson. And that's that asynchronous work. So that's the work that they're doing outside of class or maybe independently. All right. I'm seeing a couple of questions pop in here. So I'm going to head back into my edit mode here for just a second. I know I'm in edit mode because I have the blue bar at the top and I see the word finish editing. Bottom left-hand corner, there's a plus sign. When I click on that plus sign, this is how I was adding pages to my class. So if that doesn't quite answer that question, I did see a question pop in about adding pages. So bottom left-hand corner, you'll see that plus sign, but you'll be in edit mode when you do that. So there's that blue bar on the top. Looks like Heather's answering a question, but if we want to give our students, if you want to give your students access to your lesson at any time, that's when you click on the three little dots and click share link. If you'll notice too on the bottom, there's also a little option that says stop sharing. So if you want students to have access to that lesson for this week, and then maybe you have a test coming up, so maybe after the test, you will stop sharing this lesson, you would just come in and click stop sharing. So then they would no longer be able to access through that link, if that makes sense. All right. So Heather, let me know, would any other questions come in or anything else we need to clarify before we wrap up with some resources?
I'm working on answering one private message question, but otherwise I think we're okay.
Okay, sounds good. So yep, let us know in the chat, record any additional questions in the chat if you still had some. I know that was a pretty quick hour in my opinion, I'd have to say. That was fun. But the agenda document that we shared with you towards the beginning, let me just pop that link back in here one more time.
And Sarah, if you wouldn't mind going back to show again how they add the games, that came up as a question for the group.
Awesome. Fantastic. So just as a reminder, everything we talked today is on the agenda document, as well as your T3 site, instructional site will have some additional resources for you. So if I do click and under interactive flat panels, you will see some smart resources here or resources for the different interactive panels that you have within the district. So just depending on what you might have in your classroom. But if you're looking for Lumio resources, that would be right there at the bottom or right there at the top. And you can access different instructional resources for using Lumio with your students. So I'll go back and head back to Lumio here for just a second, because I do want to make sure that you know where that games button is. That is super important. So again, I'm editing my lesson. I know I'm in edit mode because of the blue bar on top. I'm going to click on the little plus sign in the bottom left-hand corner. And this is where about the middle of the page to the right, I see game-based activities. And you can click there and begin creating a game. If you're just on the home page here and you click on the new button towards the top, you'll see those same page creation options. So you will also see the game-based activities button just right there on your screen. All right, so I'm going to just pop one more link in the chat here as we are finishing up. But you are more than welcome to provide us some feedback from today's session. So let me pop that into the chat here. And I also see that we have the sign-in sheet for Ridgecrest as well. So please make sure if you are from that school that you have completed your sign-in sheet. We do have just a quick little form if you'd like to provide some feedback on today's session. You are welcome. My email address is right on that agenda document. If you do have some questions after you have a chance to play around maybe a little bit more, feel free to reach out or reach out to your T3 team. But thanks everyone. We are just at time there. So thanks everyone for your time today. I really appreciate you spending some time and exploring Lumio a bit with us.